So Transkribus, can I pass over to you, Maria?
Yeah. So my plan is to lead you through the Transkribus Lite version today, because I think it's the easiest way to get used to it. So I will share my screen. It works? Yes.
Just loading at the moment, I think, for me. Yes, you can see the Google Doc. Yeah.
Perfect. So that works. So that's basically the first thing you will see when you use Transkribus Lite. Just log in. Easy. So here you can see your collections. A collection is basically all of your documents in one collection. So, and here you can manage those collections. You can upload your files. You can sort or filter them. It's rather easy. Just take read, for example. And here you can see the README 2020. It's a sample collection uploaded for everyone, so you can all use that to get used to Transkribus. And as you can see, you can manage your roles and the access to the collection. So here, I'm the owner from this one, and I'm just an editor for that one. You can add as many editors as you want, basically. The upload is also easy. You can drag and drop your files here, either just the pictures themselves or whole yeah. The only problem for the Transkribus Lite, or problem, is you can use JPEG and PNG files. If you want PDF or TIFF files, you have to use the normal Transkribus. So let's go back. Okay. So this is what it will look like when you uploaded your file and you did the transcription already. So in the you can either go to the picture itself or the text, or you have a combined view. Then the most important part, the editing of the document. It's really easy, so you can click on the line directly and you see the text here. Just click in there, type something. That's basically it. The only thing, you have to save everything because there's no automatic saving by now. You're also able to tag words by right-clicking normally. It's not working for me because I have a small screen. You have to have a bigger screen. That's the problem. You can also use the search tool. It searches all of your documents in all the collections. You can use a filter by author, uploader, title, collection name, or script type. So if I'm searching for shilling, they are all the entries that has shilling in them. And yeah. So That's the search function. And then you also have the recognition. It's in an alpha phase right now, but it's also quite easy. You choose your collection or the document you want to transcribe. Then you have to take a model. I'm using the current M2, and you can choose a page. One page costs 1.25 credits. I'll show you the credit system afterwards. So that starts here. As you can see, job started. Here are all of your jobs then. It's working. So here you can see its jobs. And the status. I did that before. And that's what it looks like afterwards. So before, someone mentioned that a basic transcription would be perfect. That's actually what it does. You have a basic transcription, an automated basic transcription, but you can work your way through it. And by working your way through it, you can create a ground truth. And by this, you can train your model. With more data, it gets better. So you actually train this AI. And here are the credits. Also easy, just you can assign credits to someone else. You can split them. Here's an overview. Those are my credits right now. Yeah, that's a very fast way through Transkribus. Are there any questions by now?
There's one question in the chat. Maybe I'll start with that one.
Not that I know so far. What do you mean by copy and paste keyboard?
I'm sorry, I'm hidden. Actually, there are two separate issues. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
One is that if you have a transcription in a different text, you cannot copy your line and paste them because the right mouse click would just allow you to tag elements in your transcription and not to pass the test. The other problem is that if your keyboard doesn't have special character, like I'm working with an Italian keyboard and I need to add an umlaut or something different in the expert interface, you can open the keyboard, the small keyboard for special character, while so far in Transkribus Lite, it's not possible. So everything that you cannot achieve through the keyboard, your physical keyboard, or through kind of alt codes if you are in Windows, is not available at the moment. So that where I'm just mentioning, it was not really a question, it's just a statement. And I know this is a work in progress for the development too.
Yeah, thank you very much. That's perfect. That's actually what I'm looking for today, that we can improve this program. I'll give that to my developers because the copy and paste is right. And quite important, as is the special character keyboard. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry, I forgot to introduce me. I'm hidden because I'm outside and not behind the proper desktop. I'm Elisa Bastianello, and I'm actually already working from the Hertziana, because we are Red Co-op members, so we are working together for this. So just to say this, thank you for the introduction, because of some features are a bit hidden, and even if you are kind of an expert for the expert interface, you miss out something for the new interfaces.
Yeah.
Oh, welcome, thank you. And can I just ask, is this Transkribus Lite is relatively new? How long has it been available, and what are the plans for the client?
Actually, the plan is to go more in the direction of Transkribus Lite, because you don't need Java. It's way easier to access for everyone, and it's a better usability. So it is a work in progress. We are improving it constantly. I think it's around for some weeks or some months. It's rather new, and there are some bugs still in there, so it's really important to get your feedback. So with Elisa, perfect for this short comment. And yes, so for the IIIF connection, basically, I think, Christoph, we do have an import manifest or something like that. We worked on that one. And the question from our developers was if the export is also important to you, which makes sense. So we do have an import option, but not an export option quite yet.
Maybe we'll come back to that, because I think that's going to be Robert's talk at the end. Unless, Jeff, did you have a quick question on that? Or?
I thought that we should move to the Scala use cases as soon as possible, because I think most of us have used the interface to some extent, and the question of import exports is really tied to what we want to do with the Transkribus outside of Transkribus. So I don't know. I don't want to push this in any direction, but I have comments, but looks like Robert has the same stuff. So maybe we save those comments to it.
Sounds good. Yeah. So if we can move on to Christoph and then on to Robert, maybe we'll come back and have more questions at the end. That's great.
Yes, very good. You can see my screen? Yeah. So just to repeat, I'm a researcher in the history of science, and my project I'm working on deals with diagrams in scientific treatises from the 16th and 17th century. And one of my central research questions is how the text, so the written text in these books, interacts with the images. So this is, I think, where IIIF and Transkribus come together. And I mean, scholars, but probably also developers, I imagine, are very used to categorically distinguish between text and images. And I don't want to question this distinction, but for my research questions, it's actually pretty important to think those two media together. And just to give you some ideas of what I mean by that is that, for example, there are actually images in books. There are images on the same pages as the text. There is text on and in images contained, and there are references to images in the text. And from the technical perspective, how to cope with this media mixture. So my impression is that, for example, TEI, the text encoding initiative, that is really a focus on text, while IIIF has, my impression is, a focus on images, and Transkribus also has more, at least until now, focused on text transcription. And I'd be highly delighted if there would be kind of a come together, and what I as a amateur in this has in mind is using like Transkribus as a backend editor to do all the annotations and so forth in this system, which is quite easy to use for scholars, I think, and Mirador and the IIIF technology as one way of a front-end viewer database system, something that you as a scholar then use to communicate your results or perform certain research queries. And I just give you a brief introduction to my project, which also gives you an idea how the software Transkribus works. So not the web-based model, but the one you install on your computer. So my corpus consists of 200 written works, books, and manuscripts. This is all here. And all the text for these documents is already available. I've used the HTR machine learning technology and also corrected that by hand for roughly the half of it. So quite a lot of work has already gone into that. So this is the image, the text in the manuscript, and here you have the transcription line by line. And also we have tags on the level of the word. For example, this word here has received a certain tag that has been applied to it. And also there has been, or I did a lot of structural tagging. So these boxes, for example, this box here got the tag paragraph, and the word, for example, here, you can't see it because the arrow is in front of it. This is tagged as a catchword, so layout information is laid out in these tags. And this is basically what you also see in this table. And so now we turn to the images, maybe the most important point for my research. All images in these books have been selected by something that Transkribus calls image regions. So there are text regions which can be subject to transcription, and a couple of other types of regions which cannot be subject to transcription. So you just mark an area like here and say that this is an image, and this has been done. And also, this is not important, but just that you know, all the bibliographical metadata for all these books is not stored in Transkribus or somewhere else, but in a SQLite database run through Zotero. And so to be quite forward about what I need, I think it's the best way to go if I just say what would be the ideal word. I think one important thing is that these image regions, like all other regions, but I'm now interested in images, only can be tagged with what Transkribus calls structural tagging. So this is basically layout information. And what I would need is that there is a different content-based tagging structure that can be applied to these regions. Like, for example, in this image, or this image has a tag like geometrical diagram or map or, I don't know, person or landscape or whatever you can think of. That is possible for the text. So there you can define your tags, but not for the images and the other region types. I think that would be really an advantage for scholars, and to me, again, naively, seems not that much, not that complicated from a developer's perspective. A second point, maybe the core point for our call today, is how do we get out the data from Transkribus into something that then translates into IIIF-Manifest? And I have a couple of thoughts about that. I think the ideal solution would be if the user just can export from Transkribus directly a JSON file, a manifest, a IIIF-Manifest. That would be ideal. If that is not possible, maybe a script or something like that, it would be a workaround or an interim solution. And what this exported entity, let's say it's a IIIF-Manifest, in my view, or for my needs, should have is that there, for the annotation layer, so the for example, the transcription that is contained as annotation in that manifest or in another file that is then linked into the manifest, that I leave to the specialist. But there should be some distinction between what is text and what is image. So for example, that you can toggle on and off, like I only want to see the transcription, or I want to see those regions that are marked as images and have certain tags for themselves. I think that is, for me personally, an important point. And also that these tagging that has been done and will be done in the future for the content for the images also is exported and then somehow linked into or attached to these regions in the IIIF-Manifest or in the annotation. Sorry for my elusive wording, but I guess the specialists know what I mean probably. And a more technical thing, maybe Robert will say something about it, is about the image file. So for example, if you import a document from a IIIF source into Transkribus and then export it, I mean, it would probably be the best thing that this original ID URI identifier is kept somewhere and can be linked. So the original image file is then also used for the exported manifest. But there are, of course, especially in my case, a lot of documents that have been imported and transcribed in Transkribus that have no IIIF source whatsoever, because I took the photos myself, or you know, there are plenty of other sources, and I don't want to be my own image hoster. I don't want to set up an image server, and probably it could be a solution, as those images are stored on the Transkribus servers in the first place, that we also could use those image files that are there already. That would be, in my view, a very pragmatic solution. But this certainly has some technical, has a technical side too, which I can't say too much about it. But I know, and this might raise another problem, this is this point here, that if you import into Transkribus a IIIF document, then all the images are downscaled, I think, to 2000 pixels or something like that. I don't know by what pattern, but I have noticed that they are downscaled, and this then creates a problem, because all the coordinates that are in the XML are absolute coordinates, not relative. So it creates some troubles if you then want to use the original files that are in the API, in the IIIF API, and so forth. Another more specific problem to my project, but I think it translates to other projects quite well, is how to deal with text within images. So what I now have to do is I have to mark this region like as an image region, and then again add another region with the same dimensions as a text regions to transcribe the text. So it would be more efficient, or also easy, if the image regions could also carry a transcription or something like that. I don't know if that's the better way to go, but as it is now, we have, or I have always two structural entities to cover one entity in the source. And in the end, but this is just an outlook, what I want to do as a scholar with all this information is basically perform search queries. And imagine, for example, I want to see all those regions that are of the type image in books printed between A and B, so 1600 and 1650. So then let's say there are 2000 images that then pop up. And then I want to only see, or only have those results that also have the images that have the tag like geometrical elements and and this maybe is more important, also, for example, the word figura is written on the same page in the text. So the information is there, basically, and a sophisticated search engine would be able to narrow it down to those results. And this then, for me, for my research, is important to come up with certain statistical ideas about stuff I don't want to talk about today. Another example is only to show images that also contain text, and this text in these images should be not just single letters, but something more, so that there is, for example, a regex, regular expressions search functionality. But this is just like the horizon, not what we need to talk about today. So that's from my side. Thank you very much.
That's great, thank you. Shall we move straight on to Robert? Because I think you're going to talk about a similar thing, and then we can discuss all of them.
Yeah, I'm fine. Yeah, I'm taking up, I think, many of the, at least trying to bring back the technical aspects of it, and then we can maybe branch out the discussion again.
Perfect.
Okay, so I'll try to share and hope that it works with the. Okay, can you still see it?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, it's very quick. So my point of looking at it is bringing together IIIF and Transkribus for me, and also, as Christoph mentioned, is mostly that we already have these image resources in the form of IIIF-Manifests. It is already possible to import them into Transkribus, and then you can do whatever you can do in Transkribus, which is a lot of things, as we have seen. And then you can export the transcription, which is, I mean, usually Transkribus and most people using it see it as the result is a transcription at the end. But technically, and as also in IIIF land, also the transcriptions in the manifest are annotations. So I prefer to see them as annotations. And I mean, also Christopher made the point that, there's sometimes it's not just transcribing something, but there's more that you want to do with the images. The image import, currently, I mean, in the process, currently it imports the manifest, and then I'm not too much into the details myself, but at least from what I gathered, it's more or less of a black box. But what we would like to have, I think, is that even inside Transkribus, the images should somehow keep their connection to the original image API for the images themselves. And additionally, and perhaps more importantly, the pages should reference the canvas URI in the IIIF-Manifest. I mean, we can talk about this later, but just to say that the canvas is in IIIF presentation, the representation really of the page, and it can have a different coordinate system and different resolution from the image service. And because you can zoom in and out and do different things, but also the annotations in IIIF always refer to the canvas and the canvas coordinate system. So it's important to use that as the reference point. And I think additionally, it would be nice to also keep the original manifest URI around so that when you export it again, you can refer to the original manifest. Ideally, I think we would like to see Transkribus having the checkbox or button saying, well, export the annotations in something IIIF compatible, which could be either just a bare annotation list, which is just the annotations for one page in a very simple format, that leads you to the problem of how do you integrate it back for the viewer. I shortly come back to that later. Or else, and as Christoph mentioned, I mean, for the end user, it would of course be even nicer if you can just say, export me a manifest, and then you get a manifest in the form that you can directly drop it into any IIIF viewer that accepts manifest, which is all of them. And I mean, technically, it's a little question of how then you get the annotations in the manifest, because I'm not 100% sure in the small print if it's even possible to put them all in the manifest itself, or if you have to have a separate annotation list. But I mean, there's a smaller technical problems, but rest to say that it would of course be nice to have an integrated complete manifest, but it would already be doable if you have just the annotation list. I mean, if you create a new manifest, the next question would be, do you keep all the original metadata from the original manifest or not? And what additional things you would put into the manifest? But those are smaller technical details. I mean, as long as that does not exist, it's possible to work around by just saying, well, we take out the annotations from whatever Transkribus gives us. And because we also don't have the canvas URIs, we can try to somehow find the file name that Transkribus mentions and try to reattach that to the canvas. I mean, this assumes that we have the original manifest with the original canvas and then trying to refit it in some way. And also if Transkribus changed the coordinate system relative to the canvas coordinate system, we have to rescale all the coordinates. And as Jeffrey knows, we have to first find out that they're using a different coordinate system because it's not obvious. And then the script or whatever workaround could then create a new annotation list or a complete manifest. I just see that also as part of for the discussion for the bigger IIIF community, also because I think it goes beyond just Transkribus. Because I mean, there's also other systems producing transcriptions and integrating them into manifests, or you would want to them integrated, or the computer vision systems where it might be interesting to integrate their output into IIIF systems. And I think the most important part for that is that all of these systems should use reference canvases and should try to reuse the canvas URI of the manifest they are importing. Because then, in a linked data sense, we're really talking about the same object in the data web. And then we can say different things, but be sure that we are talking about the same page, and then it's later possible to bring all these sources back together, even if they are separately created. Yeah, once that gets more going or whatever, it would also be nice to have a kind of fixed shared taxonomy to say, well, this is a transcription, this is something additional, this is talking about my special categorization of images, what have you. And because these taxonomies, I think, would also be important for the user experience of if I have a viewer and there's different layers of annotations, how do I find them? How do I select which ones to display? And also the question, how do I find out if somebody else already has produced other annotations for the same page or for the same document? How do I find this? Or if I know about the separate service, could I also just say, well, here's just the annotations, even if they're not inside a manifest, and attach them? So these are a bit further going, but I think related questions.
That's great, thanks. I've just been trying to take some detailed notes. It's almost becoming a wish list for Transkribus, so apologies for this. but I'll just share my screen. And maybe this might be helpful just to kind of firm up kind of what we're asking for and what we're thinking about. So hopefully in the notes you can see this kind of Transkribus wish list, and let me know if we've missed anything. But I think for the import, you can import a manifest currently, but as mentioned in the chat, there is this particular issue with how it's being imported, and we've done a pull request for the client, but obviously that won't fix Transkribus Lite, so there may have to be some more work to do that. But to Robert's point is to retain the canvas URI and the dimensions of the canvas, because that's on the IIIF perspective. All the annotations always point to this canvas, which is just kind of part of the IIIF-Manifest. So retaining that on the input. I thought my idea here, just because I've been transcribing so I could add this and maybe mention it now, but it'd be great if we could import annotations that maybe were created in a different tool into Transkribus and use that as a basis for a model. But again, that's probably a nice to have. And then on the export, annotations, I think, would be the thing that you'd expect to get out of Transkribus, and you can kind of manually link that to a manifest, an existing manifest, if all the annotations match up with the IIIF canvases and things. But I added here Christoph's point about it sounded like you wanted the different layers, so the different types of annotations, not just the content. You might want them separated by what they're annotating and what type of annotation they are. And then just note again that it's important for the IIIF perspective that the annotations reference dimensions of the canvas rather than the image that was processed. And then I think both Robert and Christoph mentioned having this kind of derivative manifest. So it's not the original manifest that went in, it's the manifest that comes out, which is probably the same, just with the links to the annotations. That's possibly something. And then Christoph mentioned that there was also be useful if there was support for non-IIIF images. So you've uploaded a non-IIIF image to Transkribus, but it'd be nice to be able to use that in the IIIF context afterwards. So I don't know whether Transkribus are looking at support for IIIF hosting. Again, this is a pie in the sky wish list, but it'd be great if it supported the presentation API image, and then the search API as well, because that works with the annotations. Before I go to Maria, did that cover all the kind of wishes we had? Are there other wishes that we should be wishing for? And I'm not going to ask you, Maria, if these are possible. I'm just going to say, what do you think to them? Are there other wishes we should discuss?
I think the only thing I would say with the searches is that currently searches are possible within the manifest, but it would also be great to have searches across manifests. And as Christoph also showed, searches that can incorporate multiple sources. So include the metadata as well from an SQLite, but that's I think more different.
So you're thinking Transkribus would do that searching, or are you talking more about the IIIF search?
No, more the IIIF. I think that's more on the IIIF, if I'm correct. But I think I'm correct in saying that the search API is only within manifests currently.
Yes, within manifests and collections and not metadata. Yeah.
Yeah. So either have an option where you can sort of index those transcriptions easily to make a Solar engine or something like that. Would be great.
There is, as an aside, there is a search TSG which has just started, so do feel free to join that and suggest that one there. But yeah, sorry, Jeff, go on.
One thing from the content provider's perspective is really this whole need to upload anything in the first place. And I think I would question whether it's in the spirit of IIIF to be making copies of things that go elsewhere. And whether, in fact, what would be far more useful would be the ability to pick a IIIF resource, do the Transkribus, and move on, rather than having additional copies of entire documents being duplicated.
Well, if you import from a IIIF-Manifest, then you're not doing that, right?
Well, I don't know. I sort of
well,
get
Transkribus has the image has to be on a server in Innsbruck, because they've got to break that image down into tiny little pieces. I think the IIIF the benefit of the IIIF is before they had the IIIF import, I built my own downloader from a BNF manifest, downloaded every image, and then I did a batch upload to Transkribus. So what we're bypassing is the need to download it on your computer. But they definitely they can't do what they do without having the image on their server, right? They can discard it later because they don't need to be the permanent home of that image. But
is it discarded later?
Well, they don't. If they have enough space to keep it around, that's fine. But they don't.
Well, one of the things about running an archive is you come to a whole lot of different agreements with different owners of different materials about exactly what you do when you digitize things, and having additional copies, hopefully degraded, floating around can be quite dangerous.
Well, I mean, yeah, if they don't want their images available to the public, don't put them on IIIF.
Selling IIIF is often very difficult, but you do sort of say, well, you do convince people that this is the one and only copy of it.
I don't have any patience for that. They're going to leverage the community of work for the last 15 years and get all of that labor for free, but then they're upset because their image is shared. So
I think it's still slightly different issues, because I think the issue about the images, I think if you download them inside the Transkribus service for the Transkribus service to do its thing, I think that's just a legitimate use, like my browser downloads it to show it to me. The question is just, is it re-shared through the Transkribus service? I think that would only be an issue, because otherwise I don't know what you're talking about when you're talking about sharing a document. I mean, because what I, as a scholar, would later reuse or publish would be the manifest that then re-references the original images from the original IIIF image server. At least that's my understanding, because I think Transkribus is not in the business, and I don't know if maybe if somebody clicks the wrong button to say something is public, which isn't public, but that can happen anywhere. But I think they're not in the business of trying to reshare images that exist.
Possibly just having clarification of that to point people to when they ask the question, which they do ask about reuse of their images.
We'll just give Ria a chance to jump in before we go back to you, Jeff.
Oh, that was okay.
So for the question of resharing, normally when you are the editor of your collection of your pictures, nobody shares anything that's yours. We only store them on our servers. That's all we do. Nothing gets shared if it's not public. So it's your decision if you want to have it publicly displayed, but we don't do that.
Thanks. Jeff, did you want to come back on anything?
Yeah, I wanted to make a different point, but I don't understand too much why we're having this conversation. If you're going to import your stuff via IIIF to Transkribus, the images are already publicly available. So, it's like this. It's not a Transkribus. I mean, whether they're keeping it or not, it's like there we go. I wanted to talk about the wish list. If I was going to pick on that wish list of things to prioritize, it would be the import. I'm not sure why we care so much about the export. To be honest, I feel like the Page and Alto are quite fine because they're a standard we know. So if the IIIF community wants to create a manifest or a annotation list from Transkribus exports, we don't need Transkribus's involvement. We don't need their help. We can write our own tool that converts a page into a manifest. So I'm not sure I would prioritize that. In fact, like I think that we have a lot more flexibility by having these, you know, these other formats. I guess the idea is just that it's one step less that you have to do, but you know, it's not that hard to write a script that converts a page XML file into an annotation list. But I think it would be quite useful to have the annotation list import, because I've played around with the text to image import, because what we often have is critical editions of Latin text that already exists that are much better than anything Transkribus can give us. And by simply adding the line breaks in that critical edition that correspond to a manuscript, I can generate lots and lots of training material I'd like to give back to Transkribus. If, you know, I found the text to image import clumsy and not very easy to use, and maybe that was a while ago. I couldn't get it to work. But if I could import the annotation list as fast as I could the manifest, or if the manifest came with the attached annotation list and imported it, then you'd have you know, massive amounts of training data available, I think.
Yeah, no, I share your approximation of what the important things are. So I would also say priority is getting the import, and especially import keeping the canvas and the canvas sizes. After that, I think it's useful for scholars if the additional work of writing your own Python program to reshare stuff, you don't have to do that. But it just comes out again and you can just put it up on GitHub. I think that's an additional nicety, although I completely see your point that can also be done differently. So that should be much lesser priority.
Well, I'm just saying we don't have to be dependent on Transkribus there. If they want to do that, that's fine. But the IIIF community can offer that. We don't need their permission. You know, we can make a quick website that just does that conversion. So
just looking at the time, and we've only got 2 minutes left. So it feels like we've got a lot more to discuss. What's the best way to take this forward as a IIIF community, and also maybe with working with Transkribus as well? We do have the Transkribus group on Slack. Is there enough interest that this should become a community group which meets regularly, or is just a Transkribus Slack and occasional meetings enough to keep this going? Go, Jeff.
I think that this is an ad hoc. I don't think we need to persist forever, but some more meetings would be helpful. But what I would like to see at meetings is, you know, 10 minutes of people showing us their export workflow and what they're doing next. Because what I'm interested in is, I'm interested in using Transkribus as a tool, but not the home of where, you know, I don't want to be confined or contained by Transkribus. So I'm interested in what kinds of export workflows Next Steps are doing, and to what extent can that stuff be saved, or can we invent our own standards that facilitate the common workflow that we're doing. So like watching people, here's what I do after I export it. Here's how I import it. Like, I think that'd be helpful. Or the end results they're doing with the coordinates and stuff. That would be helpful.
Others be interested in that too? Yeah, see some hands. And Maria, is there anything from your side that we could be doing that would help you with Transkribus work?
I mean, I'll have to talk to the developers about the wish list. But we did think about some of the issues already, like hosting the pictures and the annotations, because it's more for pictures, like Christoph pointed out. And right now we basically work with text files, more or less. It's not that much about pictures. So I will talk to them and I'll give you feedback about, over Slack. And I think it's wise to meet again, of course.
Great. So I don't think we're going to be able to get a community slot. So I'll probably send out a doodle poll on the Transkribus channel and try and put another session together and maybe look at the import-export workflows and get people to volunteer. But that's great. Thank you, everyone. I think it's been a really, really interesting discussion and great to see what's going on. And hopefully we can carry this on. So thank you all.